Hi, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. And this morning, I'm very pleased and honored to have with me as my guest, Louis Lehot, who's a partner at Foley Lardner. Louis, welcome to the program.
Oh, Richard, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, Louis, I've known you for a long time, and I know you've been in the Valley your entire career. Tell me a little bit about your practice and the range and the kinds of things you do, because I know you touch on a lot of different things.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Well, I have to correct you. I started my career on Wall Street at Sherman and Sterling, where I think you had a stop along the way.
Yes.
And I began my career as a securities lawyer and spent 5 years with Sherman and Sterling going around their European offices. I was a few years in London and then Paris. And then, as is a theme in my career, I wanted to come back to Silicon Valley, where as you note, I am from, in 2005. And so I started over and came back in 2005 to join the local Silicon Valley office of Simpson Thacher, and there I had I retooled as an M&A lawyer, and then in the Great Recession, I had the great idea of helping start a new office as a not even 40-year-old lawyer, and joined Shepherd Mullen, and I discovered that to be relevant to my neighbors and my community, I needed to learn how to do startups, and so I kind of moved from the third circle of large large company practice, and went full circle back to the first circle to learn a startup practice. And I had so much fun, Richard, engaging with entrepreneurs at the time they need help the most, which is at the beginning. And the big challenge of our practice when we help startups is that founders don't have money at the beginning. And so you have to build a practice, a way of serving the clients that gives them the most amount of service at the least cost when they need it the most, and then recover that over time.
Well, so it sounds like you almost found your real calling working with startups. I mean, it seems like that really suits your DNA. Was that what you would say?
I think it's the most fun that I have in my day-to-day practice is the random problems, many of which have similar themes, but there's always a new twist every day with the problems that arise in startup practice. And for the last 2 years, that's been really centered around working in a distributed basis remotely, and doing things that we've always done remotely, or solving problems that we always did in person remotely.
Well, it also seems like you really look at a wide range of technologies. I mean, tell me a little bit about that, because I mean, it looks like you do it from crypto to NFTs. I mean, I'm sure you're doing stuff in the metaverse. Give me a little feel for the range of the technology companies you work with.
It just stems from intellectual curiosity, Richard. I don't have any special expertise in a technical area like natural language processing, which powers AI. I am certainly not a scientist that is working on molecules, but how can you not be fascinated by what Emmanuel Chatelain and Jennifer Doudna created with CRISPR? And so I really follow my entrepreneurs, and they tend to follow new business ideas, Richard, wherever they go, and I go with them, and I have so much fun doing it.
Well, one of the things I've observed, I know you put out a lot of very interesting things on social media. I use that word cautiously, but one of the things I've observed is that you seem like you really enjoy doing what you do, as opposed to just putting it out there for the sake of getting new clients. Tell me a little bit about that, and the kinds of things the messages you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I've always been a people person, and so I enjoy connecting with people. And at the outset of the pandemic, we couldn't do face-to-face, in person, in the ways that we used to do. So I couldn't, go to a conference or an event where there might be 100 people, some of which I already knew and some of which I wanted to meet. And so to connect with people, you really had to go digital. And we really had to rethink the way we presented ourselves to the world. And I point to this virtual background behind me. Do you want what's the image that I want to present of myself and my practice and my team? And what are the ideas that we want to be putting out, and where do I have some credibility, where do I have some voice to add? And then of course there just got to be so much noise. There were webinars everywhere and every day. You might have 3 at the same slot, or you had the same people saying the same things over and over again on their posts. And so I really try and have a voice, Richard, of what's important to startups, what's important to early stage investors, how do they move along the path from garage to global, as I like to call the life of a startup. And I try and think of new ways to do that every day. And as we go back to the office, hopefully more and more now that we're in 2022, in the springtime, I'm hoping that we're going to keep that edge, and we're going to continue to evolve it in new ways. Well, but Richard, I spend every day probably about a half an hour every morning setting up what's happening in the world and what do I want to say. And I try and build habits so that I can connect with people and I can be better every day. So one of my habits is spend 30 minutes and what do you want to tell the world today?
Well, tell me, what is the message you said, what is the message you're trying to give to your founders, your clients, or the people out there? I mean, how would you characterize that?
Well, I want to be a Sherpa for them as they go along the path, and I want to help them. And it's hard, Richard, when you've got probably very little funding. You're operating on a shoestring. You may not be taking a salary, and you're surrounded by doubters. People saying, "Oh, well," pointing out all the ways that the glass of water in front of you is not full. And I have a bottle of water. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but I think it's full. But some people will point to the part of that glass that's empty. And I think that it's really important to be optimistic, positive, and creative. So those are 3 themes behind the messages that I try and pose. And when I start a message and I'm not optimistic or positive or creative, I pull it back and I say, okay, how can I change my tone? Because nobody wants to hear another negative Nancy or Debbie Downer. How can I be optimistic? What's the bright side? So I think that that's an energy I try and bring to every meeting I have, and I hope that I'm bringing to you this morning.
Totally. Well, are you just a naturally optimistic person? How do you keep optimistic about things, your practice, life, etc.?
We're surrounded by so much challenge, so much risk, and we as lawyers are engaged by clients who really, really need help, Richard. And they're entrusting us with the life and death problems of their businesses and really themselves. And so for me to aspire to walk in their shoes, I got to be optimistic. I mean, that's table stakes. I got to be positive. That doesn't mean I should be delusional or have rose-tinted glasses, but I've got to also focus on how that glass has water in it.
But that's your natural view of the world, right? I mean, you're not acting, you're not faking this, right? That is your natural view of the world, isn't it?
Well, I'm not always optimistic, and I'm probably my own worst critic, and I've been through my own bumps in the road along the journey, Richard, and struggled. But had I let those negative feelings bring me down, they would have kept me down. And had I not infused myself with optimism, I would have stayed down. And so I think optimism and positivity are really critical things that we can do with everything that we do every day. And so that can be what you put in your diet. That can be how much sleep you have. These are all kind of life hacks that I've been focusing on in the last couple of years, and it's a work in progress, Richard.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the, I mean, are you working on any interesting particular projects right now, or any particular, clients or deals that they're public that you can talk about? Anything that's particularly interesting right at the moment?
Well, thank you for asking, Richard. And I don't like to brag about my clients without their permission, so I'll talk about themes.
Sure.
And 2021, we obviously saw an amazing infusion of equity into the venture markets, particularly in Silicon Valley. And as we saw, a lot of people relocate and make what I think hopefully are good decisions about their work-life balance. A lot of people left Silicon Valley, but Richard, a lot of people didn't write about all the people that came and all the deals that happened. And it was an amazing year. Twice the amount of investment came into Silicon Valley and into the global venture markets as ever before. And Silicon Valley continued to maintain its share of that investment in compared to other regions. And so I sit about a half a mile south of Stanford campus in Palo Alto. That's where my office is. That's where my home is.
What's your outlook on the return to office, return to work, pandemic ending? I mean, do you see everybody just getting back together in person, or we're going to continue this digital connect meeting? What's your take on that?
What a fun conversation. Richard, I work with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and while my practice is principally in Silicon Valley, I have clients all over the country and all over the world, and this is a favorite topic for lots of us. I think that there are a lot of companies that have decided they don't want an office, that they would rather spend that money getting together, having experiences that are immersive and rich and meaningful, paying people to travel to a specific destination, and team building. I've talked to a lot of companies and some of my partners in my own firm about what is the way that we're going to be most effective for our customers or clients going forward, and is it going to be on a remote basis, or is it going to be back to the office? And so for me, I really enjoy being in the office. I enjoy face-to-face contact. There are introverts and extroverts. I'm clearly an extrovert, and I'm good with that. And I get energy from the energy of other people. So I'd like to see people getting together more frequently. I don't know that we'll ever get back to 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Richard. And so as a result, with the choices we have with our time now, and that it's become socially acceptable to work remotely on a permanent basis, we've got to figure out ways to attract people back to the office. What's the reason? Why do you still pay for that lease of all that space? I have a lot of clients locked into long-term leases, and they're trying to think about, do I keep it? Do I sublet it? Do I chop it in half? And I hope that in the legal profession, Richard, it's going to lead to a rethinking of the office, where people don't go into a room and close the door and be by themselves, but where they'll really reconsider the Office 360 concept, where they're sitting together, perhaps with soundproof phone booths and lots of conference rooms, but really kind of redesigning the space. I also think that we need that people that are going back to the office need to redesign the reason that people are coming in, and it's not just to do, I think, a face-to-face meeting, because we can do this on Zoom. I think it's going to be about providing, not snacks, but lifestyle food and beverages that improve the quality of life. I think whether you have a gym nearby, or you have gym activities, or yoga classes, or those sorts of things, whether you have the facilities to support that if people need to take a shower, whether you have a kitchen to make those foods we talked about, whether you have a ping pong table, is kind of an iconic furniture item for many startups, and I think they're going to get a lot of use when people do come back into the office. I do think there's a place for it. I think we're going to start to see it now in Silicon Valley. As we record this, we're late winter, early spring of 22, and so far, I think that we're thinking in the next month or two that we'll start to see some momentum pick up to people coming back into the office.
Well, I think that's a really good point. I actually agree with that. What do you think about in terms of like a lawyer's interaction with clients? Do you think they're going to want to start seeing you in person, or you're going to want to see them in person, or that can be done largely by Zoom or remotely?
I think it's always been the case that clients would like to see their lawyers in person, and I think that there's a huge pent up demand for that, and so I expect that I will need to set aside blocks of time to try and do face-to-face meetings in some way that's efficient. So, one of the many social mores that's changed is, you used to, schedule a meeting in a certain place, and you would, let's say it's at 10 o'clock, and you wouldn't necessarily need to block from 9:30 for travel time, and you wouldn't need to block travel time back. But nowadays, with this what I call high resolution schedule, where your calendar is now published at calendly.com, and every 15-minute increment is taken by some internal or external customer or client. You've really got to be thoughtful about how you plan your day, and so I've been thinking about how do I do that, because I think part of getting to know clients is going to see them where they are. And some of providing the comfort and cover and support that they need is receiving them in a place that's very comfortable, like this background around me, and where it feels like you can have a private conversation.
Well, Louis, this is a wonderful conversation. I always enjoy speaking with you, and I know you've got a super busy schedule. I really appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you, Richard.
This is Richard Hsu and Louis Lehot. Thanks.